What is going on? Do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Hey, folks, what's happening? I see people are coming in. We've got Jane 46, Eric 50, Cynthia Liberal from Texas. Hello, hello, hello. All right. Oh, man, I'll tell you, the world is nonstop these days. It feels like every day there's like a week's worth of stuff that happens. I don't know what to make of it. Soaring Above Tyranny, hello, thank you for being here. Jane, thank you for the heart me. Appreciate that very much. It helps the algorithm. What do I want to talk about? Well, I'm going to talk about the first. And once we get a few more people in here, I will begin in earnest. In the meantime, I'm going to try to stop sweating. These Hollywood lights that are required in order to make me look human come at a toll. I get a little hot and sweaty, but that's okay. That's a first world problem, and I'm glad to have it. Oh, man. Okay. So let me just start by introducing the show. This is Yoddah Live. I am Yoddah, spelled Y-O-D-D-A-H, because film studios are litigious. Today is, I believe, Wednesday, September 24th, 2025, and it's an anniversary of sorts, and I'll get to those later. Said we have those same glasses. Oh yeah, I think I got these from the dollar store. I have two of them because I don't entertain much these days. So for the folks that are here already, if you haven't done so, please continue getting the heart me, which I believe is right here next to my name. If for some reason you don't see it, that's okay. There's another way to do it. And the heart me is very important. So go to the bottom row where you see the gift box, click on that. And sometimes it's right up top, but you might have to scroll. Look for heart me, not just any heart, the heart that says heart me. And that way you can get the algorithm's attention, which is what we have to do. These days, it's all about getting the attention of a math equation. But hopefully, what I'm hoping to do is at some point deliver so much good content, if that's at all possible for me, so that the math equation takes care of itself. Internet jammed. Let's see, what do we got going here? That's funny, Soaring Above Tyranny. Be patient with me. My mom only took Tylenol PM when she carried me. I only have autism at night. That's pretty funny. I don't know what internet jammed means. I don't know what that question means. Bunny Thompson, hello. How are you? All right. The party's getting started. My good buddy AC is doing a live right now, so hopefully at some point those folks will jump over here. Eric 50 says, oh man, I wish I could tell you the story about my daughter today in Tylenol. Oh my gosh. That is a good teaser. What's up, Bunny? Welcome. And again, You know, the heart me is very important to this platform. And Jane 46 says, hold on. I got to try to keep up with these conversations. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. All right. All right. So once you're done, Eric 50 says Jane is my wife. Excellent. Oh, I love that. A husband-wife team. So welcome, Patricia Potzi, it looks like. 77. Jeff Johnson, Joseph Taylor. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in. This hopefully will be an interesting conversation. I can never guarantee that, but I can always aspire to that. I hope it's interesting. Let's see, how are we doing here? I might have to move this a tad closer. There we go. All right. Maybe that's a better signal. We will see. We got that going over there. We got this going over here. We got that going there. I'm just checking all of my technology, so got lots of things going all at the same time. So all right. We're off to a decent start, and we've got a few people in here. So what I am referring to in the title, for those of you who can see it over my head, because some of you can't, it says the First, and I am referring to the First Amendment. And I have a story that flew under the radar because of the Jimmy Kimmel story, which of course deserved all of the attention that it got. In my opinion, it deserved all of the response that Disney got. And it is encouraging, even in a small way, to see that Disney felt the pressure from citizens and changed their ways, at least temporarily. Because really, in a way, what they were saying to Dump inadvertently or indirectly was go fuck yourself. And I'm all for that message. Now, I know that some affiliates blocked it, but Jimmy's still in good shape because he was in 40 of the 55 markets. So that's something, okay? So let me tell you about the story that flew under the radar because of Jimmy Kimmel. On September 15th, Karen Attiah, it's either Attiah or Attiah, I'm not sure. Please forgive me, Karen, if I'm saying that incorrectly. Karen Attiah was fired from the Washington Post. And they based it on 2 social media posts that she made. So, in her posts, she criticized societal expectations regarding mourning for individuals who espouse violence, specifically mentioning YT men. One post stated, refusing to tear my clothes and smear ashes on my face in performative mourning for a YT man that espoused violence is not the same as violence. Another post highlighted the issue of societal violence linked to the expectation of performing care for individuals who promote hatred. The paper cited these posts as violations of its policy against disparaging individuals based on race or gender. Oh, isn't that interesting? I'm sure plenty of people who work for the Washington Post have mentioned the race of people in their reporting or in their social media posts. But, you know, if someone is trying to get rid of you, they'll look for any excuse that they can find. But this is just another glaring example of how when you have a wannabe mafia don running the American government, theoretically, um, these kinds of mafia pressure tactics get used. You know, I mean, you had the chairman of the FCC saying, you know, we could do this the easy way or the hard way. Does anyone not recognize that as criminal type language? You know, this is the quiet part. And he went on a podcast and said that in public, knowing he was being recorded. How brazen is that? Why is all this important? Why is Jimmy Kimmel's story important? Why is the story of all of these media companies, these broadcasters, being intimidated by a president, allegedly, important? Well, I think we have to go back to the 1700s in England to start to understand that. At least that's how I began to understand this. You had the original Antifa terrorists, which we refer to as our founding fathers, who got together and said, hey, man, this king is a problem. He is indiscriminate. He's cruel. He's vengeful. He is persecuting us based on religion. He's taxing us without representation. And he can walk down the street and point to someone, anyone, and say, off with their head. And that person would be dispatched and seen nevermore. So the founding fathers decided, well, I think the only thing that we can do is flee to another country and establish things for ourselves. That, by the way, is a conspiracy. They conspired to go against the King of England. And I'm sure to the king, King George, they were terrorists. Or terrorists, I think I'm supposed to say. And these people decided, okay, there's some things that we have to do to differentiate this new country from the country that we just left. And so there's the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, all that stuff, working together to say this is how we're going to organize this new country. So the fact that the very first amendment to the Constitution revolved around freedom of the press and freedom of the speech, freedom of speech, is significant to me. Freedom of press, freedom of speech. Why is press so important? Why do we need freedom of press? Which is literally the opposite of what's going on right now. Why did the founding fathers think that it was important for outside third-party organizations to have a certain level of sovereignty and authority in American society? Because as far as I know, no other industry was cited in the Constitution at the time, right? So they picked out one industry, which is journalism. And they said, this is important. We have to have people who watch the watchers. The watchers are the government. And we need to keep the government accountable. That's how the three branches were organized, so that there would be checks and balances, which Dump has been eroding steadily since he walked into office. And we have to have someone or several people slash organizations watching the watchers. There's a Latin phrase for that. I made a post about this a while ago, but let's see if I can get it. Oh, thank goodness for search. Latin for who watches the watchers. This is a very old idea, by the way. So, it was the Roman poet Juvenal Satires is the name of it. So the phrase is quis custodiet ipsos custodes, which means who will guard the guards themselves, or who watches the watchers. So that's pretty interesting, right? I mean, we have something that is very, very old, first century Roman poet who wrote this. And we saw it in action probably in its most famous way when Woodward and Bernstein got to the bottom of Watergate. If you go watch interviews from Americans right after Watergate was exposed, you'll see that people were horrified. The average American was horrified that Nixon did what he did. And what Nixon did compared to what's going on now is the equivalent of stealing an apple off an apple cart. I mean, what's going on now is just outright theft, outright corruption. It's insane. I've never seen anything like it. And I never thought that Americans would think that this was okay. But that's why I wanted to talk about the First Amendment, because clearly this is a very important principle in American society. And let's remember that when the president is sworn in, the swearing part is about upholding the Constitution. And you have a president right now who has violated several amendments. The First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, the 14th Amendment, possibly the 22nd Amendment, because he's talking about running for a third time, which he will no doubt do if we have the election. Thank you for sharing out the live, Soaring Above Tyranny. So this is clearly a problem in America right now. And I've been talking about this problem for over 40 years. But even though I knew this could happen, because it can happen anywhere, it can happen to any country, and America's not special in any way. So it's, we're just a country of people like any other country. And other countries have succumbed to dictators and to fascism. And it is my firm belief that America is the latest one. I don't think it's coming. I don't think it's happening. I think it's here. It has arrived and it's here, and we are living it right now. We had a president who, again, knowing he was being filmed, knowing he was being recorded, was willing to say, I think people who criticize me should be arrested. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he said. So he's not even trying to pretend at this point. Not even trying to pretend. He accidentally posted a message on Truth Social that was clearly intended to be a private message to Pam Bondi because, of course, his brain is addled, allegedly, by a lot of things, possibly organically, by frontotemporal dementia, although I'm not a doctor, so I can't make that call, but I have heard many people in psychology and in medicine say that it is almost certain that he has frontotemporal dementia. So this is not my news. I'm not saying that I know. I'm saying this is what I've heard many, many professionals in healthcare talk about. And they've been talking about it since 2019. There's a clip on YouTube of a doctor, I believe a psychologist, who in 2019 said, yeah, he seems to be suffering from frontotemporal dementia. And if you've never heard of that before, I understand because I had never heard of it before either. Combi3, thank you for the heart me. It's essentially, the long story short, it's brain damage, and it's irreversible brain damage. And there are lots of signs to it, and you can read this on your own. I'm not going to go through every single thing. By the way, folks, since there's 43 of us in here, I do have a live goal of 100 puff hearts. They are 1 TikTok coin each, which is just over a penny. It is 1 penny and 1/100th of a penny. That's how much they cost you. So I did the math when I re-upped. Yeah, Jane says he's 100% delusional. Yeah, that could be. That is possible. Again, I'm not qualified to make that diagnosis. I am qualified to give my opinion. And in my opinion, he shows several signs of having issues with his brain. If you watched him campaigning last year, and even like I think it was either today or yesterday, the teleprompter didn't work at the UN, and he was scheduled to speak for 15 minutes, and he spoke for an hour, rambling at his best moment incoherently. And soaring above, Tyranny says narcissistic personality disorder is almost impossible to treat. And so, I think sometime last year, I'm so bad with time these days, but at some point within the last year, I made a post where I got a copy of the DSM-5 and I read everything about narcissistic personality disorder. And what I learned was that there are 9 criteria, and only a healthcare professional can make this assessment. But again, in my opinion, when I read the 9 criteria, and they said that you have to have at least 5 of them to be considered a narcissist, and especially a malignant narcissist. Dump had all 9, as far as I could tell. Like, just down the line, had all 9 characteristics of an extreme narcissist. But that's the least of his problems, because on top of that very severe personality disorder, he's now got this organic problem, or possibly multiple. He's got health issues that are very clear. He's also potentially suffering from the excess that he indulged in as a younger man. But again, that is really something that I can't comment on. It's just something that's been spoken about in many circles for a very, very long time. So King says, could Biden do that? He wouldn't have made it up the stairs. GTFOH. Dump is the GOAT. 3-0. That's weird, man. So King is obviously a lunatic. He's a propaganda parrot. So I don't need to keep hearing stupid shit. So Cynthia says advanced into psychosis, the next level. And again, I feel that I have to be humble and make it very clear that I am not qualified to make either a medical diagnosis of Donnie Dump or a psychological diagnosis. But what has been revealed so far, and isn't it interesting that he's been hiding his medical information for so long, and then suddenly his information got out to us? I think there's a reason for that. And I think that has to do with what we're going to see very soon when they throw him under the bus, as certainly as they're going to. When the puppet masters have figured out that they don't need him anymore, they are going to throw him under the bus. So, folks, we have 50 people plus in here. Remember, please, to keep tapping. Remember, if you didn't do your daily heart me, which is right next to my name, please do. It's very, very significant to the algorithm. If for some reason you don't see the heart me, then go to the bottom row where you see the gift box and click on that. And hopefully you'll see it right away. If you don't, just scroll. Thank you, ARK-AIM, ARK-AIM, I guess. And look for heart me, not just any heart, but heart me. And while everybody's here, I want to remind everybody that I have a second profile, which is where I have my coaching content. There's not much there yet, but there is some. But here is the name of that channel. It is Coach Yoddah. It's Coach.Yoddah, Coach period Yoddah, because film studios are litigious. And that is where I am slowly migrating my content to, because that's really what I want to talk about mostly, is personal development. So let's see. What do we got here? ARK-AIM says they are trying to get to midterms. Yeah, I mean, clearly, Dump either understands or was told, more than likely was told, that his chances in the midterms are abysmal. And the only reason we know this is because he's trying to rig the midterms. So he understands that things are bad. He'll never admit how badly he's doing because that's his MO, but he's doing very badly. And the country's doing very badly also. Dump is doing what he's done for the last 10 years since he came down the escalator and announced that he wanted to be president. He's just lying every single day. And again, this is my opinion. When Biden was in office, every day Dump was saying that the sky was falling, the economy was terrible, America is going to hell, he's ruining the country, he's wrecking the place, everything is bad. And literally all of the data showed otherwise. All of the data made it very clear that Biden, as much as I never liked him, but I do like facts, Biden was doing fantastically. His recovery after C-19 was literally the best recovery on earth. And the records that he broke consistently with regard to employment, unemployment, the GDP, the inflation rates, job creation, I mean, he was doing what we expect someone with that much experience to do. And so here's Wyatt, uh, being a propaganda parrot, thinking he has to repeat himself over and over again, saying 9% inflation. Hey, Wyatt, why did that happen? Why was there 9% inflation? Was it based on Biden's policies, or did something else happen in the world that affected everybody's inflation rate? Because Biden can't affect other countries' inflation rate, right? So obviously there was something else mitigating that. And why was it that Biden had the best recovery? Hmm. Hmm. Our oil policy. Well, I do know that Dump put a poison pill into the policy right before he left office to make sure that prices were affected in a bad way, but I don't know if that's what you're referring to. Yeah. So, did you look at Dump's policies while he was in office to understand why prices went up? Or I'm not sure what you're trying to say. You're just, you have more characters to explain things than you're using. So I'm not exactly sure what you're getting at. You're using three or four word sentences. Yeah, the price of everything went up during a worldwide health emergency. You do realize that, right? You understand that uh, before the shit hit the fan, Dump's policies made the economy worse. And before he left office, right before he left office, he contacted the OPEC nations and told them to withhold production. So that affected oil prices in a bad way. Kyle says they printed billions and where did it go? Genius. Oh, Kyle, you have a third grader's understanding of the economy. That's adorable. Um, oh, there we go. Biden canceled the pipeline. Oh, I love this. So we just got propaganda parrots here. You really don't know what you're talking about. The pipeline had nothing to do with us. That was a Canadian pipeline, and it didn't affect anything in America. That oil was not even part of the equation. Oh God. Yeah, and so since you're talking about oil production, Wyatt, and you clearly don't know anything that you're talking about, whose administration had the highest production of oil in world history? Oh yeah, it was Biden's. Oh, your argument goes out the window. Yeah, these propaganda parrots are. We are producing more because of Trump. No, you're not. Click. And the charts tell us that. Hey, click. And the rest of you dumb fuck propaganda parrots. We actually have data on this. There's third parties that for decades have tracked this information. Oil production is at an 11-year low right now. Okay? Because we know that because we keep track of that. So just because Daddy Dump says something and you're too fucking dumb to understand what the truth is because you refuse to read, you're wrong. Okay? Look at Click acting like a 5-year-old. Your charts suck ass. No, your understanding does. You really are so unsophisticated that you don't know that there's information that the country has used for decades. Just like the GAO, right? The General Administration Office or General Office of Administration. I always forget how that goes. And you know, the people that have watched over the economy for decades, they're all saying the same thing, which is dump is a blight on the American economy. So you can spin around until you're blue in the face and you can repeat all of Dump's ridiculous talking points, but you still won't be right. You're still gonna be ridiculous. Oh, here we go. Democrats are finished. And you know what? Since you're typing in all caps, you got to go, because all caps are reserved for me, the host, and any mods that I have. Although I don't have any mods, but anyway. But he got one more. Democrats are ridiculous. Democrats are finished. And hey, folks, all of the people with a few brain cells in their heads, I want you to know this. You probably already do, but I want you to bring this point home to MAGA hats, because they're dumb. Okay, they are just dumb. Okay. And Moose, you're saying both parties are corrupt. Fine, let's accept that point, but let's look at the track record of both parties. And I'm neither party. I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I'm an independent on purpose because I don't want to play team. I don't want to get caught up in that whole Hatfield-McCoy bullshit. But here's the reality. Just off the top of my head, let's look at taking children out of mines so that you're not exploiting child labor, the 40-hour work week, unions, healthcare, the highway system, Social Security, just to name a few. Not only are these things that Democrats have provided for you, Republicans voted against all of those initiatives. Yes, including the highway system. They voted against that. They vote against cancer research. They vote against school lunches. They vote against everything good. And you know who takes advantage of these programs more than anybody? The people in red states. And it's not even close. By a huge factor, red states are the ones that take advantage of all these things. EBT, Medicaid, Medicare, Section 8, and Social Security. And not only did Democrats provide these things for you, but immigrants pay into every one of the last 5 things that I just mentioned. And they cannot take advantage of those benefits. So you're all out here angry at Democrats. You're angry at immigrants. Blue states support your poor, broke asses. Blue states make it so you can exist. Blue states make it so that you can survive. You keep voting for people who keep you poor, who keep you uneducated, who keep you sick, who have lowered your life expectancy, who have taken away your opportunities, who have robbed your future with all their insane spending on illegal shit. But you keep voting for them and then being angry at the people that are trying to help you. That's the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life. You keep voting for the people who are ruining your lives and angry at the people who are literally helping you. If that ain't dumb, I don't know what is. So I've been prattling on for quite some time now. Oh, and by the way, just a little bit of American history for those anti-immigrant lunatics out there. You know, America tried this before. You weren't taught this in school because American schools are worthless unless you count churning out worker bees. But as far as education, they're worthless. Back in 1929, there was the Mexican repatriation, which saw 2 million Mexicans deported. And you know what happened? It helped to tank the economy and create the Great Depression. Certainly exacerbated the Great Depression at the very least. So you want to take people who contribute to the economy in very significant ways, who commit less crimes than regular Americans do, and you want to get rid of them. Yeah, that's smart. That's smart. You want to take people that literally help build America and that help sustain America and then support your broke fucking asses, and you want to get rid of them. That's genius level thinking right there, man. Genius level thinking. Let's get rid of the people who are helping us. Wow. Only MAGA hats from dumb fuckistan would ever have these kinds of thoughts and employ this kind of reasoning. It's really amazing. Really absolutely amazing. Let's see. We got a lot of comments that came up. By the way, anybody that wants to come up, if you see request boxes on the screen, request. If not, on the bottom row, you'll see a red and blue people, one red person, one blue person overlapping each other. You can click on that and request up, and I will bring you up. But let's see what people are saying. Brian Kuntz T-Bone said, tell them what happened when Dump stopped the shipping the first time. People don't know. Yeah. I mean, you know, let's look at what Dump did to farmers the first time around. You know, because MAGA hats don't have memories that go past 2 weeks, they forget how much he fucked up the economy when he took office in 2017. Farmers were self-deleting because they lost everything because of this dumb fuck and his tariffs. And now, and by the way, back then, they asked for government handouts, which I personally don't have a problem with, but I thought they were against socialism. Well, when they get in trouble, suddenly they want socialism, right? And guess what just happened again? Farmers are losing their businesses all over again. And once again, these people that voted for him are begging for government handouts, despite the fact that they hate government handouts. Kind of interesting, isn't it? G-Man says, what about the Civil Rights Act? Soaring Above Tyranny says, raised Republican, turned left after J6. My oath never expires. Right on. G-Man, what about slavery? So you want to go back to 1619? Really? And then what? Your claim to fame is 1865 and Abraham Lincoln? That's adorable. That's absolutely adorable. Oh, I love that. Kilroy just came on and said, dump, with 3 exclamation points, because, you know, he's a propaganda parrot and an idiot. FM wants to know, have I seen the new Presidential Wall of Fame? I have not. The Navy Board said, stunned your education and told you college is BD while they send your children to Ivy League. Okay, well, sorry, that's unclear exactly what that means. It's the one that need hired help that are MAGA. Okay. Dennis says, right on, brother man. Thank you, Dennis. Penguin says, so true, everything you were saying. Yeah, I mean, I try to live a fact-based life. I have no allegiance to Democrats. I have no allegiance to Republicans. I think the American government is completely corrupt. All these people are bought and paid for by AIPAC and other entities that are infusing money into politics. But I also know history, and I know what each party has done. And so I'm just reciting the facts. I have no skin in the game to try to fool anybody. You know, that would be a complete waste of my time. My time is too valuable to waste like that. I just look at the facts. Like I said earlier, I don't like Joe Biden. And the reason I don't like Joe Biden is that he spearheaded one of the worst pieces of legislation in American history, in my opinion. Back when he was a senator, an MBNA, the largest credit card issuer, came to him and said, hey, we're going to write this bill that we want you to push through, where Americans won't be able to declare bankruptcy for credit card debt. And Biden helped make that law. He was the main sponsor of that bill. And I find that disgusting. So I can look at it and say, for that reason, I don't like Joe Biden. Some people have issues with the crime bill that he was involved in. I think that's kind of like a 50-50 kind of thing, because I remember the times we were living in when that happened. And I remember that even the Black Caucus was in support of the crime bill. However, I had my reasons that I thought were sound reasons for not liking him. So when he came up against Donnie Dump, I held my nose when I voted, because I knew I couldn't vote for a sociopath who wants to be a dictator. So I voted for Biden. And then when you look at all of the statistics, because let's be very clear and very plain. Every single administration gets judged the same way. We look at all the same criteria with regard to crime, with regard to the economy, job creation, et cetera, down the line. We look at every administration and say, what did you do in these areas? And then that shit is recorded. So we can compare and contrast. And we know that what Dump did in his first term was garbage. And what Biden did in his term, no matter how much I dislike him, was brilliant and record-breaking on several different levels. The Build Back Better Act was amazing. And of course, Dump stopped all that progress. And this is what happens in America. Because everybody's attention span is so fucking short, after a Democrat fixes the economy that the Republican broke, which is the cycle. You don't have to trust me. Look it up. Look at the last 60 years. From Nixon on, or if you want to go back farther than that, fine. But from Nixon on, look at the economy and what happens when Republicans are in office and what happens when Democrats are in office. I'll give you a hint. In the last 30 years, 96% of jobs created were created by Democratic administrations. You don't have to trust me. I'm not asking you to trust me. These are just facts you can look up. They're just facts. So again, if anybody wants to come up, feel free. I think hopefully in a few minutes we'll be getting some visitors. And Casey Grooven 77, I am good. Welcome. Oh, you're from Australia. Excellent. So you are probably 14 hours ahead or something? Rich says, "You're a joke. The Biden administration was the worst that we've ever had. He let millions." Oh, I know where you're going with this. He let millions of people across the border. But isn't it weird that Biden deported more people than Donnie did? That's funny, isn't it? We have a guest. And it looks like Penguin. What's up? How you doing?
Hey, sir. Good evening.
What's on your
I'm
mind?
liking what I'm hearing. I'm liking what I'm hearing, and I'm also, agreeing with a lot of what you said. Biden's administration wasn't perfect at all, but I just got into politics not too long ago. I was more apolitical, not caring about these issues. I know some may critique me and say that's from a privileged standpoint, but now that I'm seeing how things are, I don't understand why people didn't vote for the lesser evil, because we're looking at everything that's happening, and every day there's something going on, another mass pew pew. Did you hear about what happened in Texas today?
Mm-hmm.
In the morning, I woke up to that and I was like, whoa.
And
First of all, this is
only
getting out of
MAGA
hand.
hats could say that the target was ICE agents, even though only detainees were harmed.
Right.
That's
And you
just
know what?
genius level thinking.
Exactly. They do no critical thinking. And to be honest with you, I have a lot of questions and a lot of doubts, and I'm not trusting what they're telling us. And this is the second time we've had what mass pew pews in the last month, like back to back. This is crazy. And there's always messages on the bullet casings, and
Yeah,
why?
yeah,
And it's
yeah.
like,
Suddenly,
really,
even though this never happened
suddenly,
before, suddenly it's a trend,
exactly,
right? It's
exactly.
become
Meanwhile,
fashionable to confess your agenda on the casings. It's hilarious.
right. I
It's
tell people, and I
hilarious.
speak to a lot of MAGAs, but I'm to the point where I don't spend my time wastefully debating them because it's like debating a box of rocks. You're not going to get anywhere. They're going to crash out and disrespect you. And me being a woman, they don't like strong, independent, critical thinking women, So I believe me, I've gotten my share of insults, but it doesn't faze me because I want the American public to know the truth. And like you said, it's not about believing me. Don't believe me. The facts are out there. If you do a little critical thinking and analyze the whole entirety of the situation, you're going to see what's going on. And, every day it's a new breaking news. I don't know about you, but I'm kind of tired of getting
Yeah.
breaking news
But
24
that's
7.
part of what they're counting on. They're counting on our fatigue. Um, but I totally feel you on that. And by the way, here's an attempt at a flex. Let's see. Rich asked, "I bet you support Palestine, right?" Well, so that
God, here we go.
suggests to me that you support the country that's engaging in a geocide right now. So your flex is really fucking dumb. What a
Not to get off
dumb.
the topic, but it's an ignorant comment. It's like, I know these people are like out of touch with reality. And I was very upset today when I looked at something online. Did you hear about what the young MAGA guys, I don't know who exactly they were, but they were going to HBCU University, Tennessee University, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and they went there trying to have debates, but they twisted the narrative. And I love how Republicans love to twist the narrative, to suit whatever they got going on. And they were, in my opinion, they were harassing the kids, because it's like, we don't want you in that space. This is a supposed to be a university for, people, and you guys are coming there disturbing the peace. And from what I heard, correct me if I'm wrong, I haven't looked at all the facts, but I'll look at it more later. They illegally entered that university.
Yeah, I don't know. But I do know that anything that MAGA hats are accusing anyone of is what they're doing.
Exactly. And out of all places, why would you? I mean, if you have time, you could read the article, or you can find the information out there. But them going to colleges, I mean, don't know, like how I feel about, these debates right now. I mean, where's the security? I mean, people send their children off to colleges and you have just it's universities have become a battleground in my opinion because it's a lot going on. They're targeting the new Gen Z generation. So, I mean, if this I don't like to call it administration. I like to say the regime. is just going after education in so many ways, and the economy and the e-files that nobody wants to talk about or avoid, the elephant in the room. So many things going on. And I ask
Hmm.
myself, when is enough going to be enough?
Well, so even though you're asking yourself a rhetorical question, I find it an interesting
It
question
is.
because um, I've done a lot of reading about psychology. I've been fascinated with it since I was 13 years old. I used it every day in my life during my 40 plus year career in sales, and I use it in coaching. And I find that understanding how people work is very helpful to me. And so naturally, I've done a lot of reading on cults. And uh, when you read any article on the characteristics of a cult, you will recognize everything you're reading because it's been exhibited by MAGA. Okay. And you don't have to get too deep into it. It's pretty simple to recognize. The cult is their only source of information, and their cult leader can never be wrong, right? So these are people, remember, let's remember how they described themselves not too long ago. The party of family, right? Party of family values. Okay. So you vote for a guy that cheated on all three of his wives. Okay, that makes sense, right? And it's the party of pro-life, unless life is snatched by people with weapons, and then you're the party of 2A, right? They're the party of backing the blue, unless 140 of the members of the blue get beat up because you don't like how an election turned out. One of whom lost an eye in the skirmish. Four of whom took their own lives within, I think, 7 months of the incident because that's how stressful it was. And some of these people were military veterans who had seen combat. And I saw one of them on the news saying it was worse than what I saw in Fallujah, which was the worst aspect of the Middle East combat. And the reason why it was the worst is because in Fallujah, his enemies were attacking him. In America, Americans were attacking him. So that was extraordinarily stressful for these people. I mean, I saw some videos where the police were literally screaming for their lives. Oh, you don't back the blue for these people, do you?
No,
Right?
and what gets me about the family values, when I've confronted them about the infidelities, they'll say, well, the Lord forgave him. They use religion. They say, the Lord forgave
Yeah.
him, and who are you to judge? And it's like, no, this is not how it goes. Like, you can't cherry pick,
Well, that brings me
and
to the other thing that they claim to be, which is Christian, which I find
mhm,
fucking hilarious. I will just, without
totally agree.
anybody knowing me at all, I'm just going to make a statement. I am more Christian than any MAGA hat, and I'm an atheist.
So true. I agree, and it's sad because I have my beliefs, but I'm like, this is not what they're doing is not, a representation of the Christian faith. And it really bothers me. And I'm like, how did we get to a point where religion and state are mixing, meshing in together? I mean, that's like literally against the Constitution, but how did they get away with it? And I've always
Listen,
said that
look at
Americans
this,
just
cute comment by
we're
Tanner
getting
Stone.
pissed already.
You guys literally had vote blue no matter who. Yeah, but we didn't
No,
storm the Capitol, did we, you numbnuts?
exactly. And we accepted the outcome of the elections. We didn't, that should have never happened. And now I'm just seeing a lot of idolatry. And I have tried to talk to some of them, and it's so pathetic. The ones that voted for him are so like my friends. They're ashamed. I know they're MAGA, but they're ashamed to tell me. How can you be ashamed of your own party? It's just I don't
Well, I
know.
don't
But
you see
but
that's not like even relevant to me. That's why I don't have a party because I don't give a fuck about any of that. Oh, blue, red, I
exactly
don't care. What I care is effective or not. Are the
right.
politicians doing what needs to be
That's how you
done so
should
that
vote.
people can have a decent life? That's what the fuck they're there to do, right?
I like
That's
that
the only
perspective.
reason to have a
Absolutely.
government is because there are things that as individuals we cannot manage. Things like sanitation, electricity, running water, ports of entry, food delivery, all these things. That infrastructure is the job of the government. And we rely on these people. We say, you are our representatives. So fucking represent us and
And
make
it's
our
funny you said
lives better. But they don't do
infra.
that. They represent their owners. They represent the people that buy them.
It's funny you mentioned infrastructure, and I always ask myself, because I don't place my faith in the government. I'm like, we have all this money for better infrastructure, and we're, funding other things. They're already debunking the whole border thing. Some people, have gone to the border and they've gone, and seen what worked because supposedly, he's had all this money to fix the border. They're going to make it or whatever. And a lot of the work's still not done. Pieces are missing. You can still cross to the other side. So I feel like this is just a whole big Ponzi scheme. Where's all the money going? You're not going to tell me that Alligator Alcatraz cost all that money and look how shabby it looks. It
And
looks
then was
like
shut down.
exactly. I want to know who's pocketing all our taxpayer dollars. I have a lot of questions.
Oh, look, it's I maybe I'm oversimplifying things. I'm not a brilliant person. I'm a talking monkey with opinions on my best day. So
It's a good day
I
today.
look at other countries and I ask the simple question: what has your government done for you, the citizens? And when I see that we send money to Israel, let's say, and Israeli citizens have free healthcare, free college, and all that. And I go, well, isn't that weird? America's the only developed country that doesn't have free healthcare and free college and free childcare and a long list of other things. And I go, okay, so the I look at the countries where the citizens are not just surviving, not just hanging on by a thread, but thriving and happy. And I say, okay, those governments are legitimate because they made decisions on behalf of their citizens. And so when I see what's going on in America, I go, okay, the decisions that are being made by the so called administration, which I refer to as a crime family posing as an administration, then it's
Right.
clear that they don't give a fuck about us. They don't
Absolutely
care
agreed.
at all. I mean, you take down USAID, right? I don't know if people really appreciate the horror that it means to disassemble USAID. They are responsible, on average, for saving 4.5 million lives a year. And we want that to go away? Why? I know why it is. Because that leaves more money in the treasury to steal. That's why he shut down all these programs. There's no other reason.
No,
There's
it's the
no other
it
reason,
was to cut fraud and waste. Yeah, that was their
which,
excuse.
of course, was completely bullshit,
Absolutely
right?
agreed. It's just the level of hypocrisy is just outstanding. And I've always said that the American public is going to be complicit to all this because we live in a very sheltered society compared to other countries, and it's incredible. And I don't know what it's going to take for us to rise up as the people and get back to some kind of normalcy.
Marvin Dooley says Congress is to blame. No oversight. Don't blame Dump. Sure. Don't blame the guy that has the presidency, the House, and the Senate. Because that makes sense.
Exactly.
That makes
Exactly. You
sense.
guys have all the power.
I love that, Marvin. That's genius level thinking. Keep that up, bro.
And
That
that's what
is
they don't
genius
understand. I
shit.
always like to point out the fact to MAGA. You guys have all three branches of government at your disposal. You have all the power, and you guys are still miserable.
But it's
And I
Nancy
don't know if it's
Pelosi's
the,
fault.
oh,
Right?
I love that. Or where they blame Obama or Biden. They like to go back to Obama.
Obama.
Let me ask you a question, seriously.
Sure.
Um, what do you think? Why do you think that they constantly bring up Obama, that he was the divider in chief? Why do they say that? Is it simply, do you think, because of, they're being racist and it's like, oh, because, he's a black man, or is it just his rhetoric? Because I hear them going back to Obama a lot and saying, oh, he was the divider in chief. He started this race war. Like, where do
Who
they get
who
that
who
from?
was the first one to say he was the divider in chief? It was Dump.
It was the, oh, yes,
They're
because we
just
forget.
propaganda parrots. That's all they are.
That's true.
They can't think for themselves, or they won't think for themselves. I like to say you can lead a MAGA hat to facts, but you can't make them think, right? And they literally just repeat whatever he says. Because at this point
Facts.
in my experience on this platform, I have now communicated either through comments or through live shows, whether it's my own live or someone else's, at least 1,000 MAGA hats, right? So I already know the goofy shit that they're going to say on my platform because they don't ever say anything intelligent, right? And what I know for a fact is that
That's
they refuse to
doesn't
educate
it?
themselves. They refuse to verify anything. They just repeat what he says. And if you ask them any questions, their arguments fall apart because all they're doing, because they have no understanding of what they're saying, they're just repeating what Daddy Dump said.
But doesn't that kind of surprise you? I mean, because when
No,
I think about
no,
I mean, like for me, probably, I know a lot of my friends rail me for this. They're like, oh, it's always been like this. Like the lack of education. How did all these people go and vote for him, knowing everything that was going to happen? Like, it's us,
because they're
it's
part of a
incredibly
cult.
astounding.
They're part of a cult. Let me
That's true.
explain how severe this cult is. Because so much was going on, this was one of those things that a few people missed. There was a poll taken maybe a month or so ago of Dump supporters, and they asked a very simple question. If he was found guilty of being a PDF file, would you still be a supporter and would you still vote for him? 47% of those respondents said yes. So there's 77 million people that cast their ballot for him. So that means if you look at 47%, that's 36 million people. That's roughly 10% of the American population. 10% of the American population said it doesn't matter if the leader of the free world is a PDF file. So understand they are lost. They're not part of the team, and the team I'm referring to is Team Humanity. They're not part of the team, and they are irretrievably lost. Because remember, they knew that they were being polled. They admitted publicly that they were willing to support someone that did that committed the worst crime that a human can commit against another human. So they're gone. So if you're wondering why they do what they do, is because they're part of a cult. There's 41 million other of them that maybe are reachable, but those 36 million, they're done. Hello, Jessica. How you doing?
Oh, I'm good. Just now coming in. What I
From AC's
miss?
live.
Correct, yes.
Nice. I see Vicky's here. I see Danny's here. Danny is doing his tapper in chief duties beautifully, sharing the live, doing the heart me, all that good stuff. And again, folks, just as a quick PSA, we have 64 people in here. Right above me, somewhere over in this region, there is an orange heart, which is right next to my name. If for some reason you don't see it, don't worry. You can still participate. Go down to the bottom row and click the gift box. And somewhere in the gifts is a heart me, not just any heart, but the one that is called heart me. And you can then send that to me. And that makes the algorithm gods happy, apparently. And speaking of Danny, my older brother from another mother, how are you doing?
Well, I was hard at it doing that tapper and chief stuff over at AC's and modding, but got him up to 75K when I left,
Nice.
so he's almost done though.
That's
But
excellent.
good to see you. I didn't know what the conversation was about tonight, but I'm sure you're going to inform me of what the caption up here, the
Yeah,
first.
absolutely. Yeah, so for the people that are just getting here, I opened up by talking about the First Amendment and the historical aspects of it, dating back to the 1700s, and the fact that the founding fathers, as flawed as they were, as open to criticism as they are, had an idea that there had to be a different paradigm in America than in England. And so the First Amendment, which not only guarantees the right of free speech, but also a free press, was established, and why that's so critically important, and how that is being trashed as we speak right now. Hello, Zaza. How you doing?
I'm good.
I
How are
see you've
you
changed your name
guys?
to Raptured Zaza. I'm surprised you're still here.
No. No, this is my backup account actually.
Gotcha.
No, I made this troll account because of I got caught on Rapture TikTok and everyone was
It was
talking about it.
hilarious. It was so good.
So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make an alternate account and I'm gonna call it Raptured Zaza and it's
Love
gonna
it.
be my troll account.
I love it. Miss
I
Katie,
also
hello.
got
Miss
stuck
Caddy,
on
rather.
Raptured.
Ms. Caddy, welcome, welcome.
Mhm.
So Jessica, what's on your mind? What are you thinking right now?
Um, well, before I got distracted with Raptured TikTok because I also got stuck on it and it was hilarious, but also
Oh
really
my.
concerning. Um, I'd kind of from AC's live, I'd started thinking about because we kind of touched on a couple of times, like, conservatives or Republicans versus MAGA, and then that got me thinking of, conservatives versus fascism, and how how much lack of understanding there is towards what fascism actually is, and how, because we had some guy down in the comments who was just genuinely stupid and didn't know shit,
Shocking.
talking about it, and I mean, yeah. And there's even like in Danny's live earlier, we had that one guy who had briefly come up on the panel and talking about how, oh, well, Democrats are, getting a little fascist themselves. And I just, for me, it's the lack of education and understanding has been really bothering me. And I could give a whole fucking dissertation on this topic. But no, I also kind of I like that you're talking about the First Amendment and how it is being gone after, despite Trump stating, his first day in office, how he was reinstating the First Amendment, and now he's doing everything that goes against it. Um, in so many different ways, and the ways are far and varied. And a lot of people don't even know about all the ways that he's going after it. Most people don't know anything about, Operation Whirlwind that has been launched under Trump's Department of Justice and how it attacks the First Amendment and goes after political opponents, and, how he's going after the press and all of that. And it's just really, really concerning to me. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, how about his FCC chair saying we could do this the easy way or the hard way publicly on a podcast?
Oh, God, yeah.
That's wild. That's like straight out of Goodfellas. Crazy shit. Crazy shit. So for some reason, my goal of 100 heart puffs has been sitting there for an hour and 18 minutes. I don't know what's happening here. Do you guys not like the content? What's going on? It's only a penny each. AC's in the house. What's up? What's up? What's up? Thank you for the raid from AC's amazing live. I was able to catch about a half hour of it. Great stuff. Great stuff. And so
So
Danny,
what was
what
that thing called again, Jessica? I'm about to look it up.
Oh, Operation Whirlwind.
Mm.
It's
Operation
a
Whirlwind thing.
Yeah, it's a new initiative that
Yeah.
was launched under Trump's Department of Justice. That um, the premise behind it is to go after people who are perceived as threats towards a elected official, but they're using it against other elected officials who speak badly about people in the Trump administration. They've got, like, an example is they've gone after Congressman Robert Garcia using it and stating that he was the subject of a criminal investigation because he called Elon Musk a dick. You know, it's just it's nuts. But yeah,
Well, I think Elon Musk is a dick, so I agree.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, it's I mean it's to the point, and I know everything that's going on is serious, and I am in no way, shape, or form attempting to make light of it, but it's as if the onion doesn't need to exist, because how can you parody what the fuck is going on now? It's beyond belief what is happening in America, and it's equally beyond belief that there are tens of millions of people that formerly said that this shit was not okay that are completely embracing it now. It's wild. So, Danny, what do you think of my take on the importance of the First Amendment?
Well, I can honestly say that without the First Amendment, uh, and with all it includes with it, we would have no chance to even open our voice to go to the bathroom. I mean, unfortunately, that's a plain and simple way of saying it because without the First Amendment, I can't tell you how I feel about something without being spanked by somebody for something that all I was doing was giving my honest opinion, or my prejudices. I mean, that it doesn't keep you from doing that because you're prejudiced against something. That's what the First Amendment was all about. Because you're going to have people on both sides arguing and disagreeing about each other, and somebody's not going to like it what you say on the right or say on the left. But the thing is, you have the right to say it, and without the First Amendment, you've lost that right, and that's
Right,
why we got to keep it.
and we have to be specific. Um, this is about the government, right? This is about being able to, as it is described, redress our grievances to the government,
Correct.
right? We, as the citizens who the government owes everything to, um, have the right to say, we don't like what you're doing. You know, every comedian that's ever existed has made fun of politicians,
Yeah, especially
and more
presidents.
more the president than any other politician. The fact that we have
Exactly.
a man child in office that can't be criticized even by someone in entertainment is just fucking pathetic. You know, like we have to be able to do what they couldn't do in England in the 1700s, which was criticize the king. We have to be able to do that because the king, who is referred to as president in America, has to be accountable, cannot be all powerful, which is what the Supreme Court helped to destroy last year. You can't have an all powerful president because that's why we got rid of the kingdom. We didn't want
Correct.
an all powerful president. So saying, oh, anything this guy does when he's in office is legal, this it's just absurd. You know,
Yep.
and the fact that citizens can't say, hey man, what you're doing is fucked up, that's crazy. I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I was, because you were, referring to, the king, and it reminded me of whenever the Trump White House put out, "Long live the king," with Trump wearing a crown, and I would just refer everyone back to the United States Constitution in Article 1, Section 9, Clause 8, which is called the Title of Nobility Clause, go read that. And then maybe also like Article 4, Section 4, the Guarantee Clause, also worth a look. So when you have someone like Trump who is trying to, take all of this power and have all of the say so, maybe refer to those sections.
Maybe. Right? Like, I mean, I've said many times that America was never about the propaganda about America, but at least it pretended to be. Like, now you got a guy that doesn't even want to pretend that America is meant to be a certain way. He's out here just going wild, enriching himself and his family. Jimmy Carter sold his peanut farm just so that he could be president of America, right? Because that man was above board and transparent and a giant among men, right? And didn't want even the hint, the whiff of impropriety. This fucking guy is charging people millions of dollars to have lunch with him and then pardoning their family members.
Fun fact, I believe over 40% of Trump's net worth and wealth has been accumulated since he took office.
Yeah. It started to ramp up last year and then has gone off the charts this year. I mean, this crypto scam is amazing. People made fun of him for the sneakers and the gift cards and all that stuff, or the playing cards, whatever the fuck they were. But they didn't realize that this was a way to hide dark money. He could have anonymous people or institutions or organizations pay him off that way. They could pay $1 million for a pair of sneakers and, do their bribery that way. So this guy's been grifting for a long time. Cynthia says, disgustingly leave out parts of the Constitution. Vicky says, pretty much. I have my appointment scheduled already. Excellent. And, okay.
Yeah, I saw also they made mention of, Oklahoma instituted the thing where they have to give Bibles out in school. And they've specifically been given, the Trump Bible.
Yeah.
So, it's got the Constitution in the beginning of it.
Yeah.
The issue is that the copies that they're receiving are leaving out parts of the Constitution. Whole sections of the Constitution are just not included.
It's also an abomination because they're corrupting the Bible.
Yeah.
Now, personally, I don't give a shit, but these people claim to be religious. They claim to be Christians. And yet, they don't care that much of what this guy does is Antichrist type shit.
That's why it also gets me when people are talking about how, CK was the pinnacle of Christianity and he stood up for Christianity. I'm like, really? Let me refer you to the video of him saying that we absolutely should not feed children in schools because that's their parents' responsibility. And yet I'll refer you to the Bible where it says, when you harvest your fields, do not harvest the edges, leave them for the immigrant and for the poor. How many times does the Bible say we should feed the poor?
Constantly.
But yet CK didn't think that. Trump doesn't think that. The whole entirety of the Trump administration does not seem to think that. But they're Christians, right?
There are several passages that talk about how we need to treat the immigrant and the stranger to our land and the poor and the hungry. But these Christians somehow don't know that, and I do, and I'm an atheist. That's kind of ironic.
Yeah, it talks very specifically about, be kind to the immigrant or the alien, whichever version you're reading. It the term will be different. For you yourself were once aliens in the land of Egypt, for I am the Lord your God. You
Mhm.
know, it goes on and on and on and on several times about how you are supposed to treat the poor and the immigrant. And yet, these Christians can't ever seem to follow that.
Yeah,
But I'm not even a Christian and I can understand it.
right. And isn't it? It's all just so ridiculous to me. There's such a long list of things that are absolutely ridiculous. But I think at the top of that list has to be that Jesus, from my understanding of being in Sunday school and reading the Bible, he had one job, basically, and that was to spread the word of God, which, of course, was him in human form, but that's too complicated to get into. So his job was to spread the word of God. We knew that he was, we kept track of him from birth to age 12. Then he disappeared for 18 years, inexplicably, without a word, reappeared when he was 30, and then continued to spread the word of God. So, one job, and somehow he never mentioned the evils of boys kissing boys or girls kissing girls. Never mentioned that. That's kind of weird for a guy who was spreading the word of God. Don't you think that that would have been among the things that he told people? I mean, it stands to reason, I think. Thank you, Traffic Man, for knocking out my chili pepper goal. And I think I've had enough goals for the evening, so I'll just leave it for a while. So yeah, it's just, this, I've always found so much hypocrisy around religion. I think that a lot of these people that self-identify as Christian, oh, I've never seen birds before. That's interesting. Um, thank you, AC. Chirpy kisses. That's excellent. Um, I, I see all these people that self-identify as Christians and then literally don't do anything Christ-like at all, ever. These are people that were holding the mass deportation signs. These are people that are okay with capital punishment. These are people that claim to be pro-life, but really are only pro-birth, because once the child is here, they don't want to feed them, house them, clothe them, nothing. They just want the child to be born. Oh boy, the genius is back. Let's see what he's saying. Marvin Dooley, the genius Marvin, the genius MAGA hat Marvin Dooley says Obama knew football, Hillary and Kamala didn't. Oh, thank goodness you
I'm
took
not
the
gonna
time
base
to write that.
I'm not gonna base who should be president of the United States based on their sports ball knowledge. What the fuck is wrong with you people? Like, God forbid they know about legislation and international policy, but if they don't know a fucking thing about how to run a football down the field, they can't qualify. What the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah,
They don't
Genuinely,
understand.
what is
Marvin
wrong
has
with
said
you?
several dumb things before. What's up, Traffic Man? How's it going?
Hey, what's up, Yoda? How are you tonight?
I am better now that you're here. We haven't
Thank
seen you in
you.
a minute, but I know you've been doing life, which is good.
Yes, sir.
So, what's on your mind this evening?
Well, listen, I don't think that a president should be president if they don't understand the importance of the check down pass,
Right.
in case there's no downfield options. I'm so
I don't
sorry.
know what any of those words mean.
Um, oh my goodness, there's been a lot that has happened since the last time I've been on one of your lives.
Yeah. Are you referring to in America or your life, or both?
America.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it just continues to circle the drain, and I'm kind of not kind of I'm pretty much done talking about the idea that fascism is coming and have embraced the reality that fascism is here. You know, and I think that's a tough thing for people to embrace because our association to fascism comes from 1930s Germany, and we know that the extreme that happened there hasn't happened here. So some people are reluctant to say that because that doesn't exist, fascism is here, right? But
Right.
I'm saying there's been plenty of countries, even now, that exist that are under fascist rule that don't have that extreme going on, but they're still a fascist country led by a dictator. And so we have a fascist country right now being led by a dictator, in my opinion.
Well, you don't. So I think so. Fascism, in and of itself, is a process rather than an end result. So you are correct. Like, fascism is in fact here because we are currently going through the process. Because the entire basis of fascism is it's a form of palingenetic ultranationalism. Which is the idea of a national rebirth, right? And so we're going through that because it starts as like a protest movement, um against ultra left wing, or radical leftism, and it's a protest of the ideas of radical leftism. And while instituting this idea of nationalism and national purity and national rebirth. And we've been going through that since the very beginning of the MAGA movement. So fascism is alive and well, and we are currently going through it. The end result is authoritarianism, but the path there is fascism. So yeah, we are currently in it.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't think it takes a genius to see it. Like, I know I don't think I'm like ultra intelligent. I think I'm reasonably intelligent. And by that, I mean I can read at about a college level or better, and I can comprehend what I read. And so when I read history, it's clear to me that this shit is all fucked up because it looks like all the other countries throughout history that went the same route. I
Exactly.
think that's decent, logic to employ in this situation. And the fact that people don't think that or want to dispute it somehow, like, you know, I had this knucklehead once tell me that no, you can't compare Dump to Schmittler. And I said, yes, I can. Because if he's following the same path as Schmittler, then of course I can compare him. And he says, well, nobody's wound up in ovens yet. And I said, so I agree with you, kind of, because people have met their end because of this administration. But what about the run up to that? And because he was a typical MAGA, had he said that doesn't matter, I was like, okay, I understand what I'm dealing with here. You
Yep.
know, it's just too dumb to see what's happening to them, and they're so far gone that they can't see how despicable they are. They can't see how horrifying it is that they're supporting a man who is just like every other dictator in history. And they're justifying it and rationalizing it and making it work somehow in their mind, but they're just fucking wrong.
I I think it's funny the the litmus test there was, well, he hasn't put anybody in the gas rooms yet. Like, okay,
Yeah,
cool. There was 20 some years of history before that happened.
yeah.
Yeah, it's not over
Schmittler took
yet.
over the party in 1921, and
Yeah,
he wasn't made
exactly.
chancellor until 1932 and sworn in January of 33. So it's like, are we just going to ignore? That's like the people that look at the Middle East and act like history started last October. Like, come on,
Uh-huh.
like stop it. Stop being dumb on purpose. And
You got to be
so,
patient, Trappist man. The 4 years ain't over yet.
JJ says, would a fascist recognize Jerusalem, the capital of Israel, like Dump did?
Yes,
yeah, absolutely. You
that's
seem to not understand what a
What is
fascist
that?
is.
Who cares?
So, and like with fascism, like I mean, one of their whole things is that the nation is imagined to be like humiliated and threatened on the international stage, right? So it has to be reborn,
hmm
and it has this revolutionary nationalist movement that redefines itself, and rejects liberal reformation and all of that bullshit. That's been happening. We've seen Trump from the very beginning. Oh, we're a laughing stock on the world stage, even though we never were. Oh,
right.
other world leaders don't respect us, even though they did. And so they have to create this sense of national insecurity on the global stage in order to justify their reformation.
If
And
only
that's
there
been happening since the beginning of when he started running.
if only there was an example, like within the last yesterday, where the president of the United States stood in front of world leaders and said exactly what you were just explaining, Jessica. If only there was an example
Yeah.
of that. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe people would understand it.
If only
Right?
God.
reality wasn't happening right now, you know? No, I mean
Yeah,
the
exactly.
guy is a fucking buffoon, man. Like I remember his first term when he stood up in front of the UN and said something just completely untrue about America, and literally every world leader in there was laughing in his face, and he was
Well,
like, "Oh,
see,
I didn't expect that," right?
and what's concerning to me is this time, after the teleprompter did not work, and he went off the cuff for an hour instead of the 15 minutes he was supposed to have. I have yet to see any video of a world leader laughing at him during that speech. And I think that's a very important part of where we are as a country, because now these world leaders understand where we are. And I don't know if it's fear, I don't know if it's objection, I don't know what the emotion is as far as the UN is concerned. But the fact that everybody pretty much stayed completely silent through his hour-long ramble, speaks volumes
Oh,
to
Yes.
where the world sees us.
We have a new guest before we continue. It looks like Anon.
Hello, buddy. How are you tonight?
I'm excellent. What's on your mind?
Not much. Seen you guys chatting. Decided I'd hop in here.
Cool.
You was talking about the UN.
So, what are your thoughts?
Well, I did vote for him this last time, but he was supposed to clean out the deep state. So why is he kissing their ass now?
Okay,
can
so
I can I can I
before we address the deep state issue,
But he's
so
not doing what he said. He's doing the
did you
opposite.
see? Hold on, let me ask you a question. We're you're gonna have plenty of time for a back and forth, so let's go one at a time. So you were around for his first administration, right?
Yeah, I had more money in my pocket. Of
That's
course, I was still
wonderful.
working a
That's
lot.
wonderful. That was a yes or no question. So you saw his abysmal record on just about every metric that a president is judged on, right?
No, I didn't see much of him or Biden because I work a lot.
Okay.
I catch
But
a
you,
little
so
bit.
are you aware of his record in his first administration?
I was trying to explain why he got my vote the second time. I do not support him as of this moment. Matter of fact,
I asked you
uh,
a question, so let's try to keep the conversation normal and how conversations go, right? So I asked you a question. Are you aware of his first administration?
what about it?
His record.
What part of his record? And I did answer you. I guess you didn't like my answer.
No, you're just a fucking dimwit. Hi, OG nerd. How you doing? OG
Deep
nerd.
state.
OG nerd. How are you? Are you there?
The scary
You're not,
part is
you're
that
not
person
muted.
actually voted. That's scary.
You know what's scarier is that guy is allowed to procreate.
Yep.
Oh.
That's true.
OG, are
That's
you
true.
there? For some reason, I
Oh,
can't hear you.
there it
So,
is in the comments.
what is?
He says, "Figures you don't want to hear from a Native American."
Well,
Oh,
listen,
that's good.
Tonto. Goodbye.
Jesus fuck.
Fuck, dude.
Hey, I knew Tonto. He was a good guy. Don't call him Tonto. He's more like Flap-a-Hole. He's from the Flap-a-Hole tribe.
Both of you, goddamn.
I love that. Oh
Oh,
boy.
I also love how we never even had the any sort of indication that that person was Native American. He never
No.
mentioned that, but now apparently we don't want to hear from him because he's Native American.
Well, the
see,
thing is, let's say he wasn't lying about that, which of course we know he was, but let's say he wasn't. Then I would have nothing but more disgust for him, because any minority that votes for their own oppression is a fucking moron as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I'll agree.
we'll see. I'll take this a step further. I don't feel that he was trying to say that he was a Native American. I feel that he was trying to say that he was a Native American.
Yeah,
Do
whatever.
you understand?
Either
You know what
way,
I'm
either
saying?
way, he
Yeah.
was a
Yeah,
complete idiot. So I just have no
exactly.
time for it. OG nerd, is your mic working? Are you there? Okay, nothing's coming through. So I'm going to drop you down and try to come up again, because for some reason, or maybe you came up accidentally. I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, I just think it's just amazing how every time I talk about how absurd MAGA hats are, one of them comes up and proves everything I've just said. There she is
Yeah.
again. All right. OG
Mo-
nerd is loading up. Let's hope that we can hear her this time. Loading, loading. Hello, OG.
Howdy, Yoda.
Now I can hear you. Welcome aboard. What is on your mind this evening?
Well, let's see. What is on my mind this evening? Escalator gate?
Yeah, I saw a snippet of that. I don't think that was an accident.
Apparently,
For,
from what I understand, it was his own crew that caused it.
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I heard that it's they narrowed it down to it was a White House videographer that somehow like they went before him and somehow triggered some sort of like security mechanism that shuts the escalator down.
That sounds like horse shit.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
wants an investigation.
He wants an
Yeah.
investigation? Oh, good. So do I.
Yes, he wants an investigation.
Yeah.
Well, apparently now
Mostly,
the
I
UN
want to
has
thank
been
the person.
Here's
well,
who I
except for the
here's who
fact
I
that now they're
genuinely
getting
want
VOMB
investigated.
threats.
I would like to see an investigation on the judges who allowed Dump to be on the ballot after it was shown that he was A, an insurrectionist, and B, gave aid and comfort to insurrectionists. Because there was an
Yeah,
opportunity to keep
Absolutely.
him off the ballot, and judges said no. So I'd like them investigated.
Here.
Absolutely.
I apparently also the UN has now been receiving damn near nonstop BOMB threats
Of course.
from Trump supporters because of the
Well,
teleprompter and escalator situation.
well, you have to remember though, Jesse Waters, I believe last night was on whatever that show is that they're on. because I don't watch faux news. But he was calling for the bombing of the UN because of escalator gate. Like I'm not mincing words. Like these are the
So,
words he
so
used.
let me just say this about Jesse Waters. I don't think there's anyone on television who has probably more arthritis in his knees from gargling dump sack. This guy is the most shameless dump sycophant that I've ever seen. And maybe other people deserve that moniker as well, but this guy is pathetic in how much he just sucks dump off at every fucking opportunity.
Well, I would argue that Greg Gutfeld is in close second.
Yeah, Gutfeld might. I think his problem perhaps is that there's not enough oxygen getting to his brain
Must
because
be
he says some of the dumbest shit that I've ever heard.
he takes too much Tylenol. Um, I wanted to ask you because I was not here for the beginning of your live. I see that your um oh my
Prompt.
goodness, excuse me. Yeah, your prompt says the first. Could you elaborate on that? Because I'm curious.
The First Amendment was the opening topic of conversation because it's being so thoroughly trampled right now. And not only did I talk about Jimmy Kimmel, but I talked about a story that went under the radar because of Jimmy Kimmel's story. And that was the story of Karen Attiah, who was fired from the Washington Post on September 15th based on two social media posts because she correctly identified the psychos involved with CK as being YT males, and they were like, "Oh, that's racial bias or some bullshit like that." But so her First Amendment,
Yeah, I gotcha.
even though wasn't directly trampled upon by the government, we know that it was indirectly trampled upon by the government.
Right.
Right.
I think what's very concerning recently was even though Jimmy was allowed to be back on the air, and I say allowed because I mean that's kind of what it was. There were still a Sinclair and I forget the other company affiliates that his show did not air live.
Next
His
star.
show,
Yeah,
Next Star, thank you, yeah,
yeah.
and you know I understand a lot of people will look at that as well. That's just capitalism and that America, and, the blah, blah. No, the influence came from the government. The influence came from the federal
The
government. It came from the
FCC chair
FCC. It came
threatened
from the White
them.
House. Exactly.
He literally threatened them on a podcast.
Exactly.
You know,
Having Robert De Niro play as the FCC chair last night was
hilarious.
fucking perfect.
I saw it on
Yes.
the U-shaped tube, and where he's like, "What the
Yeah,
fuck did
same.
you just say to me?"
Yeah. Jimmy was like, "You can't say that word online." He's like,
That
"What are you
was
gonna? What are we
hilarious.
gonna do? I'm the fucking
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
FCC."
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, and
But
I
yeah, but
really respected how Jimmy handled that because he's
mhm,
to me, in I don't know the guy obviously, but when people spend thousands of hours on television, sometimes you can get an insight into their makeup. And we know about the situation with family members and a child that had all these surgeries to go through, and you see how real he
yeah,
is, and raw and open and honest, and willing to be emotional on public television. And so the fact that he got so choked up last night, just from the get go, just how the audience responded to him, and then
yep,
the things that he said afterward, and to highlight the fact that he felt really bad about the fact that CK got murked. And that's
yep,
the only difference between him and I in this situation is that I don't give a fuck, but still I'm with him and everybody else that's right-minded in saying we don't condone this. But
exactly.
again, I have to go back to the irony of the fact that CK condoned this, you know. So it's kind of hard to feel bad about a dude that condoned his own demise.
I agree, but it is important though that um, people understand that th- this idea that there was any celebration over
Oh, that
that.
was just bullshit that people did.
Exactly,
And here's the
exactly.
thing. Let's just kind of devil's advocate this thing. Let's say there were celebrations. Okay.
Sure.
How many times have you people fucking celebrated horrible shit?
Yep.
Okay. How many memes did you put up about people that have
Paul Pelosi.
Paul, George Floyd? Like, there's a long
Fucking
list of
feed 'em to
people
the
whose
alligators.
demise you fucking celebrated. So go fuck yourselves with that bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, and also this is also the feed 'em to the alligators club, right? And then
Yeah.
and granted, I have come across a few people who are celebrating it, and I don't have a fucking problem with it because all of the people that I have met that have celebrated it are women or are people of color or are members of the LGBTQ community. And here's I am never ever going to tell a member of a marginalized community that they are not allowed to celebrate the ending of someone who actively sought to oppress them.
Yeah.
I will not tell
Right.
an oppressed people that they can't celebrate the end of their oppressor.
Yeah. I mean, the guy called for the ending of Joe Biden's life.
Yeah, he did.
Like, come on,
Yep.
man. What are we talking about? And this is why I say this is the only thing that MAGA hats and the MAGA sphere can do. They have no other play. They can't fall back on reality. So they have to create this alternate universe where it's Democrats that have done all this horrible shit.
Correct. We're literally talking about a guy who drove people to January 6th.
There you go. One of my favorite podcasters said that there's new evidence. I haven't seen it yet, but Kyle Kalinske said there's new evidence about CK that's like supposedly devastating. So I'm looking forward to catching up to that.
I would be
no,
interested
my
in
God,
that
let's see.
myself.
Marvin is chirping in again. How do you get 15% of YT males to vote Democrat? I don't know, Marvin, but I know how to make a douchebag disappear, so I'm doing that right now.
Oh no, a lobotomy would be a good start. That probably
Fucking
take
hell.
care.
Yeah.
Yeah, why don't we bring those back?
Yeah.
That might be a cure for TDS.
I just saw a film about that. Oh fuck. I don't remember what it was called. But it was a film about like one of the doctors who stood up and said, "Hey, maybe scrambling people's brains with lobotomies and electroshock is not a good idea."
Yeah. Yeah.
What if their brains are already scrambled?
Yeah. Well, then you get a mega hat.
Exactly. Somebody down in the comments said, "Bye, Marv," and all I could think of is that scene from Home Alone where Marv, don't move. What are you doing, Harry?
Yeah, yeah.
Nice.
Oh my God.
But yeah, I think it's very, very, very important that we realize that the First Amendment is being trampled upon heavily. And I don't even know if trampled upon is the proper terminology at this
Just
point.
eviscerated.
And yeah, and so going into my nerd mode here, I apologize, but there are many people in the ham radio world where we have to be approved by the FCC to be able to communicate over the airwaves. I have to have a test. There's this whole thing. Now, granted, the test doesn't have anything to do with politics. It's just, like if you're transmitting at this frequency, blah 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 blah, stuff like that.
It's a knowledge
Um,
skill test. I know the test.
right.
I'm sorry.
Exactly.
Hold on. Dr.
Go ahead.
J.L. Manning, who I'm guessing got his doctor degree from a box of cereal, said, "Why is the left so filled with rage?" That's hilarious because it was the left that burned buildings after J6. It was the left that stormed the Capitol. It's the left, that has been involved with pretty much every political assassination over the last 50 years. What a dumb
Yep.
take. What an
Yeah, but
I was
he
gonna
has
say
absolutely
Cracker Jack
53
dumb,
box, but
followers.
yeah.
dumb take.
He's
I
got
don't remember
53
the left
followers. I
being
mean,
the
he's
ones.
a trendsetter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, he
I
can
don't
go
remember the
set
left being the ones
trends.
that built the gallows
Yeah,
in
Yeah,
yeah.
front of the
The
exactly.
Capitol.
left wasn't chanting "Hang Mike Pence," so the doctor will not be seeing us anymore. So he's gone.
Is he related to Dr. Feelgood? Like, I don't
I,
understand what his doctorate is.
he's a proctologist. That's what I figure,
Yeah.
proctologist.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's
Hey, you
still
know
got
what?
his
That
head
that
up his
reminds
ass.
me, and this is a question for everybody because I'm not a doctor. I don't know how things are supposed to work. But when my proctologist examined my prostate, was he supposed to have both hands on my shoulders?
well, technically, you were supposed to be under anesthesia, so you didn't remember any of that. So I don't know what's going on there.
Was that lubed or unlubed? Or you don't, or
Yeah.
don't you know?
Yikes! I actually, when right after I got my brain surgery, when I had to have, because I was 47, I had never had my prostate examined. Actually, by this time I was 48, and I had never had my prostate examined, not officially anyway. And uh, this doctor did it. I was just like, oh, this is like, can you take me to dinner first? This is awful.
Imagine being a girl and having to get it done every single year.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
We have to have
I
paps
remember
every
when I
single
was a
year.
kid, a young man in his teens, guys would be like, "Oh, wouldn't it be great to
To be a
be
gynecologist.
to be a gyno?" Yeah, and I was like, "No, no, I'm
No.
guessing it would ruin it for the rest of your life."
Yeah. Yeah, and also let's just point out, like, you guys get a finger up the butt. We get pried open
Yeah,
and what's basically a tiny toilet brush
Yep.
scraped
yeah.
around our
Oh,
insides.
everything they
And
do to
we're
Yeah.
women
just,
on every level is horrible.
yeah.
Yeah.
Breast exams,
Imagine
that's
going through it
horrible.
every
Like
year.
Oh,
mammograms, horrible. Everything.
I've
let's talk about
oh my
smash
God. Oh
boob.
my God, my God, my
Hold
God.
on, hold on.
What was
OG
that,
nerd, what?
foreplay or
Let's
what?
talk about what?
Let's
I
talk
said, oh
about
my,
smash a boob, where they
Oh
crank
yeah.
it down
Yeah,
till your boob is flat.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fun.
In the
Smash it like a
bedroom that
pancake.
works out all right, but at the doctor's office, that's awful.
Yeah.
what are you talking about? That's foreplay.
I mean, listen, the things I've learned from my wife as far as medical um, procedures that women have to go through, like, okay, you win,
Yeah. And
you
we
got
get
it. I
no
don't want
good
anything to do with that
management.
shit. Like, I'm good.
And we get
I'll
no
take
pain
the every
management.
5 years shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know a guy that had to have an ultrasound on his sack, and they sent him with sedatives. They sedated him
For
What?
something that he
Say
wasn't going to
what?
feel?
for an ultrasound on his sack because he was nervous. But
That's bullshit.
meanwhile, for any woman who's ever had to have like a cervical biopsy, you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
They can hole punch our cervix with absolutely no anesthesia whatsoever, where they're just taking a live biopsy out of something that very much has nerve endings. Uh, and we get told, oh, just take a Tylenol before you come in.
Well,
Been there,
wait,
done
hold
that.
on. Don't take Tylenol.
Oh yeah, my
I'm
bad. No more
sorry.
Yeah,
Tylenol.
by the way, you
I'm gonna
you had
unalive on
me at
that hill,
hole
by the way.
punch.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah, it's super.
But no, that's the reality of it. Yeah, absolutely. Like it's impressive to me. Um, like I don't know. I'm like one of those weird guys where I've been talking to my doctor about getting a vasectomy. As a matter of fact, Eric 50 just brought up vasectomies too. And like my doctor was like, "Oh, you need at least 2 days off of work." And I was like, for what? And they're like, well, so everything can heal. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to use anything down there while I'm at work.
Blech.
So, yeah, ideally, I'm not going
What
to
do you
use that
got?
while I'm at work. So, what do you mean? I can't, it's the difference between how different genders are treated at the doctor's office is impressive to me.
And at
It
the
it
bottom
blows
of the
my mind.
totem pole is BLK women. They get the
Oh,
worst treatment
no,
of
you are
anybody.
absolutely correct. And that has a long history. I mean, we're talking from the early 1800s. There was a and I don't remember her name, but it was I forget her name. There was a woman that was talking about a doctor from the early 1800s and how he used to use certain ice equipment when it came to African American children that were born when slavery was still a thing, and like he used to like literally lobotomize babies, kind of a thing. And I'm trying to keep this as TikTok safe for your live. And it was in his uh, medical findings that the reason he used to do this was because these people weren't the same as like me. Okay. They weren't the same as the YT people. So like he was just trying to prove that like brain mass was smaller, stuff like this. And her the ending the whole point, the conclusion of her lecture was the fact that this person had to be so much without empathy, so much without the understanding that humans are all the same across the board, that he was so capable of doing what he was doing.
Do you remember the scene in The Godfather where the five families met and they were talking about street candy?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there was a character uh, that spoke a famous line. That character's name was Don Zalucci. And when he concluded that even though it's a risky business, when we sell it, we keep it in the minority neighborhoods. And his reasoning was they're animals anyway, let them lose their souls.
Yep.
That's the famous line from that scene. And that's how this country looks at minorities. And that's why they've been able to justify all the horrible shit that they've done to us all this time.
You're absolutely right. No, you're absolutely right. You know, in this lecture, she had talked about how many of the papers, he had used terminology like what you just said about animals,
Females.
subhuman. Yes, yeah, and we're talking about human beings.
Well, they weren't though. That's the thing. That's how
Right?
you can brutalize people. And by the way, this is world history. This is not just America. Whenever
No,
human
correct.
beings are brutalized, the first thing that happens is their humanity is stripped from them. Eric 50, how you doing?
How you doing, pal?
I'm wonderful.
Good to
What's
see you.
on your mind?
Well, I just wanted to talk about, you guys were talking about race, and I do not have no problem myself with your skin tone, and I got fired from a job because of it.
Oh, this sounds like an interesting story. So you got fired from your job because you don't have a problem with skin tone.
Right.
Okay,
They
so
wouldn't
that
say
means that
that
means
for
your
me.
bosses were racist. Okay.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. And they had a couple gentlemen working there, and I went to lunch with them every day instead of going with the other guys. And it wasn't too much longer that they got let go and I got let go.
Well, there you go.
So it doesn't bother it. You know, I was happy to go when they went, but you know what I'm saying.
You wanted to tell the story about our
Oh,
daughter?
and I'd like to tell the story about my daughter.
Please do.
Okay, so today my daughter's a super mega, and she was here today talking about the Tylenol and she read me the whole thing from the Tylenol thing, and I had to get in an argument with her, and she's screaming at me that I don't know what I mean. And I'm like, look it, you didn't even read it right. It says there's no correlation. No, it didn't, Dad. I said, yes, it did. And then finally, when we got somebody else, we got a third party to take care of it. She finally admitted. Well, she didn't admit. She just got mad and went home.
Well, I get that you're up here laughing about it, but I also suspect that it's probably very painful for you.
Oh,
Oh,
because she's
yes,
mega.
sir. Oh, it's really painful. Yeah. But I don't know how else to deal with it, you know?
Well, the thing is that in order to deal with someone whose mind has been captured by a cult, it takes a specialist. And I'm not trying to be insensitive at all. I'm being
I understand.
factual. Like, in the 60s and 70s, this whole uh, branch of psychology flourished because there were so many cults going on at that time. And it became apparent that once somebody gets in, it takes a tremendous amount of deprogramming to get them out. Now, since I don't know your daughter, I have no idea how deeply she's in. Deeply is wrong. How deep she's in, but chances are that if you want to reach her, you might have to get a specialist involved.
And she's so deep in that she's attacking people in Walmart.
Oh.
Yeah, that's
Because of their
unfortunate.
language.
Immigrants.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. So
Yeah, it's terrible.
yeah, and it can happen to anybody, and I have a lot of compassion for that. I have Republicans in my family. I never understood minority Republicans. I think you have to be self-hating to be a minority Republican. But it happens, I don't understand how women support this administration, but it happens.
Yeah.
Oh, she did have some mental issues as a teenager.
But
Eric, if I may ask, and you don't have to answer this, how old is your daughter roughly? Like, you don't have to give me an exact
26.
age.
26.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Are they is she chronically online?
No.
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 No. But she never shuts off Fox News.
There you go.
Okay.
Is her boyfriend or
Oh,
does
her
he have a
husband,
boyfriend?
and her in-laws are caught up in it too.
Yeah.
Although Mike's kind of turning around now.
Yeah, Mike's starting to come around.
Is she is her was she that way before Trump or no?
No. She wasn't that way before she even met this man that she's with now.
Is she kind of subservient to him, I'm curious?
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of tracks.
Yeah. Yeah, what he says, that's what goes. No matter what it is.
That's rough.
Yeah. It very often in relationships you have what I call the Juliet syndrome. When she was on the balcony and she was saying, "Deny thy father and refuse thy name." That happens to people. They get involved with someone, and because they get so connected to that person, they take on the characteristics and beliefs of that person. And unfortunately, sometimes that can have really bad consequences. So I hope that you can figure out a way to reach her and bring her back.
He doesn't
Her
believe in
husband is
Trump
starting
anymore.
to come around now, so
So there's a chance.
yeah, he sees what's going on.
And
But
this
hey, I
is
wanna-
and this is the Mike that you were referring to.
Yeah, his name is Mike. Yeah.
Well, send Mike to these lives, because we talk about this a lot. And I even though I am rather brutal to MAGA hats, my go-to is to start with facts and try to get them to understand what's happening and why it's so detrimental to America. That's what the title above my head refers to. We were talking about the First Amendment, because what's happening is way beyond the paradigm of political parties and red or blue or all that horse shit, because that's all that fucking team and tribalism and all that stuff. And I get that that's a very human thing, but I let that shit go a long time ago. I don't like I'm Dominican. I don't care that I'm Dominican because I had nothing to do with that. I love waking up the perfect color every day, but beyond that, I have no attachment to being Dominican. I live in America, but I don't refer to myself as an American because it wasn't my choice to live here. It just happens to be where I live and where people I love live. So I'm very detached from the whole Hatfield McCoy dynamic that goes on in American politics and in American culture. So if I have a MAGA hat who's trying to find their way out, I can, help them do that. And so will everybody else on the panel. Because we've had MAGA hats come up here and have reasonable conversations with us. Same thing with Danny. And so it's doable. But, they're few and far between. But if Mike is starting to have doubts about, his choices, then start exposing him to this kind of information.
Yeah. But can I say one thing and then I'll leave you guys alone?
Of course.
Hey, everybody on this panel, you've been nothing but great to me, and I just appreciate y'all. And thanks for letting me be here.
Absolutely.
And anybody says I love Trump again, and I'm going to unfollow him because I didn't like him since the 80s.
Yeah, I'm the same. And, I know you're a regular here, so thank you for your continued support, and come back anytime.
Okay, man. I'll be down in the comments.
All right. Have a good night. All right. We've been at it for a while. Let's start with some final thoughts. Let's start with OG. What are your final thoughts for the evening?
I'm gonna go back to your original topic, the first. The founding fathers, as flawed as what they were, they made that amendment, the first one, for a reason. These items meant so much to them. They felt that they were so important that it got the first spot in the Bill of Rights. And I think that they are essential to democracy. And if we allow them to go by the wayside, we're screwed.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly because we've lived our whole life under the benefit and auspices of the First Amendment. I don't think it held as much value as it did for them, because for them, the First Amendment represented the difference between life and not being alive, because that's how it was in England for them. You could be persecuted for any reason. You could be persecuted for, if you criticize the king, you could be persecuted for your religion. So again, and I agree with you, and I use the phrase all the time, as flawed as they were attempting to create a country that was far more decent than England. And I think it's important to remember that. That's why when I brought it up, I started with the historical reference of it, because that gets lost in the sauce sometimes. Like this is a critically important amendment. And, the Constitution's been amended 27 times because as the culture has grown, for whatever reason or for whatever motive, it made adjustments so that we could have a more fair and more just society. So all of them are valuable in their own way. And as you said, this was the first one because it was the most important one. So thank you for reiterating that for everybody and for me. And as always, you're welcome up anytime. Have a great night.
Thank you, Yoda. Have a good one.
All right, Jessica, we'll go to you next. Final thoughts.
Yeah, I'll also go back to the topic of, your prompt with the first. So we see clearly that Trump has gone after speech and press and, in a way, religion as well, with, you know, putting all of these religious policies in, and even going so far as to want to introduce legislation that would allow them to go after both people and organizations who exhibit anti-Christian bias. But keep in mind that there are two other things within the First Amendment, and that's the right to assembly and to petition. So if they can go after the other three, there's nothing feasibly keeping them from going after assembly and petition as well. So assembly, that's our right to come together. That's our right to, organize and become groups. That's every time we get together to protest. That's assembly. To petition our government, to try to have our voices heard for our government. So, keep in mind that it's more than just them cracking down on what you say. It's your right to stand against them or to come together and organize as well that they could go after. So just everybody educate yourselves and keep your eyes open.
Excellent points because, yeah, it has such far-reaching implications, and we've already seen it. We've seen it in action where you try to deport a college student for their thoughts on the Middle East. Like, that's insanity. And the fact that an administration was involved in that, involved in ripping people from their homes and sending them to gulags somewhere else. So, yeah, I agree with you 100%. And again, when are you going to start doing live shows, Jessica?
So I think I'm going to. So I've still got to meet the qualifications of going live first before I can get a panel. So I've got to go live a few times. So I might do that if I find time this weekend. If not, it'll be early next week. But I've had a couple of requests now that I start hosting some myself. So I think I'm going to go ahead and get that process started.
Excellent. Well, I'll be there if I can be in any way, shape, and form. Even if I'm just in the chat making dumb comments, I would love to be there for that. So
I
thank you
appreciate it.
for coming up as always, and have a great night.
Thanks, you too.
All right. Traffic Man, as always, great to see you. What are your final thoughts for the evening?
Well, I will say I think it would be a fantastic idea if Jessica would start hosting lives. I mean, just the amount of information that she
Yeah,
has,
her knowledge
yeah,
is
would be great.
impressive beyond belief.
Oh my gosh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I get in my final thoughts. You have a person down in the comments that has stated that America is a Christian country, and I would like to remind them that Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or the prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Like, it's literally in the First
Yeah,
Amendment that
wasn't it
what
Forrest Gump that said stupid is as stupid does? I mean,
stupid
holy
does. Yes,
fuck, man. It's
yes.
a Christian
Um,
country. Lord.
but I will say this. The president did have one good thing to say last night during his Tylenol rant, was nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen. Those were
Yeah,
his words.
yeah.
Okay, and I agree with him that that I believe. I still have the hope in my heart that nothing bad can happen. That only good can happen, or however the hell he said it. That even though through our transgressions that we are currently experiencing right now with this administration, that what will end up being the end game is people will come to the realization that holy crap, this is shit. This this set of ideals,
Yeah.
this form of government is garbage. This is not who we are. This is not who we need to be as Americans. And then when this trash is over with, we can finally progress to a better America. You know, that we can make steps to reach that whole, and I hate to use their phrase, but like this "Make America Great Again" kind of standard, that they look to the past, but that we can forget the past, but use that and look to the future.
Here's what I would also like to forget. I agree with everything you said. I would change one word. Instead
Okay.
of as Americans, I would say as human beings. Because this isn't about just this country. You
Right.
know, we have people online right now saying to Dump, just give us the green light and we'll go door to door and get rid of leftists.
Yeah.
And the reason why that's happening is because everything he has said for the past 10 years logically culminates in that kind of feeling.
Yeah.
So I don't give a fuck about the label American. It is just sounds that we make with our mouth. What I do give a fuck about is the humanity of it. We are failing as human beings right now. We are in a
You are
country
correct.
in free fall, and it's not propaganda and it's not some political bullshit that I'm saying. I don't have any skin in the game politically, but I do have all skin in the game when it comes to humanity. And right now, humanity is failing in this country. And if we can't figure it out, you know, we're lost. And I am very encouraged by the last week because Americans have been historically very lazy about these kinds of issues. And the fact that so many people sprang to action and said, we will not accept this.
Yeah.
We are not going to accept this here. That is very encouraging to me. And I haven't seen much to be encouraged by, frankly. So I'm
And
happy that that happened because it really does help me believe that there is a way out of this.
it wasn't even just the everyday American. I mean, you had people like Ben Shapiro, like Mitch McConnell, people that I would never had imagined would have taken a stand against this administration's decision, with what I believe you're speaking about.
Yeah, and
I
and you
just
know, even a broken clock is right twice a day. So great that
correct,
they finally figured it
absolutely,
out. But you know, the collective is what I'm impressed by. Because it's
yeah,
hard to get people to row in the same direction. And the fact is that there was no like national call to action. There were
no, there
just
wasn't,
millions of individuals that said, no, this can't go on. And
and I
that's
think it,
very
I think it,
encouraging.
I think it really speaks heavily to the fact that with just the fact that people acted upon their own accord to hurt them
Yeah.
by the tune of $4 billion,
Yeah. You know,
that
so
this
you know,
should be a wake
nobody
up
has to
call.
think that this was a crisis of conscience for
No,
ABC. It had nothing to do with that. And frankly, that isn't even
absolutely
important to
not.
me. What's
You're right.
important is how we got here. And I'm going to hold
Exactly.
on to that because I need to, because I
Yeah.
generally don't see any hope for this fucking place. So this
And,
was the first
and
glimmer of hope that I've had in a long time.
and I will close with this. I think it is very important that people realize now that we, the people, do have the power to sway this country in a direction that we wanted to. I mean, what we literally canceled our Disney Plus subscription, and the guy got back on the air in what was it, like a couple days, kind of a
Yeah.
thing. Just imagine what we could do with every other issue in the country
Yeah.
with that power.
Yeah. And
You know
all I'll say about that is this is a marathon, not a sprint. This
exactly,
this was a great thing that we can celebrate as people who care about fairness and equity and a real democracy. But we have to sustain the pressure. We have to look for the next thing to do, and I hope eventually the momentum will build to the point where people are saying, no matter how long it takes, we're digging our heels in, and we are not stopping until this bullshit is eradicated. Because that's
exactly.
the only thing that's going to save this place.
Yep.
Thank you for those thoughts. As always, a pleasure to have you up here. Have a
Yes,
great
sir.
night.
You too. You too.
Danny, man, what a night. Your live, my
What a
live.
day.
Holy crap. So, last man
What a day.
standing. What are your final thoughts?
I'm telling you, I've had a day. I mean, that what started this morning with talking to Danny Glover on the telephone, uh, which was amazing. I never thought I'd ever get the opportunity to ever talk to him and on a phone call. Uh, so that was awesome.
Yeah,
My live was amazing. A lot of good content, a lot of subjects. I like my new format where I go from the 3 hours, not spending 3 hours on one topic. I go to three different topics through the
right.
3 hours. That makes it kind of breaks it up, and the engagement I thought was better. So I
Yeah,
think that was a good thing.
yeah,
Uh, the I'm hoping that everybody that's in here still listens to what I got to say. We have about 5 years to do something spectacular. We have to not only win the midterms, but we have to win the next election. The problem that we're having is turnout, and the right has no problem turning out. It seems like, and I want to make you aware, excuse me, that we have a handful of states, only a handful, that when those states come together, they're going to be able to get enough states to have a constitutional convention. And if we don't get somehow control of those states that are in the middle of leaning one way or the other, we are going to possibly lose our constitution the way it's written right now.
yeah,
Because they are wanting to make a lot of changes. And Republicans have been working hard to get a constitutional convention. Because that's the way they're going to get their religion into the government. That's how they're going to change the election, how we elect them, and they're going to change it where the president will be there forever, and it'll be like a king.
right.
So I'm just saying, you need to pay attention to the next 5 years because we are in the precipice of losing not only our democracy but our constitution as we know it. So I just wanted to
Absolutely.
bring that part up. It's been
Yeah,
an amazing day,
yeah.
and
Those are excellent points, though, truly. So thank you
I
for that.
appreciate you having me up.
Yeah, always. And I'm sure we'll talk shortly. So with that, have a great night.
Yeah, the night's not over. I expect to hear you from you in about 20
Yeah,
minutes. I'll see you
absolutely.
later. I'm just joking.
Yeah, yeah. All right. And for those of you not following Danny, I can't imagine what kind of damage that is going on in your life that you're not following this amazing man. He goes live Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Mondays and Wednesdays are about current events and other topics that are pertinent, and they're always with a positive spin. How do we make positive changes? That's why he titles his lives The Way of Positive Change. And on Friday is devoted to letting it all go, forgetting about the madness, and just having a rip-roaring good time. And we do that in a very unexpected way, and that is through Trivial Pursuit. If you have not been even a member of the audience during Trivial Pursuit, you won't understand what I'm saying. If there's only a few people that can be panelists, but whether you're a panelist or whether you're just in the chat, it's so much fun. It's just 3 hours of laughter. The questions are funny. The answers are funny. We tease each other mercilessly, which is hilarious. So please join us. And then after Danny does his thing, then I do my regularly scheduled show, easy for me to say, at 10 p.m. Eastern. And Fridays are now devoted to Casual Friday. No politics. We'll talk about everything else. I usually do either personal development stuff or cultural stuff, something like that. We talk about entertainment, all that shit. Saturday's the same. So for the time being, my show is going to be current events Monday through Thursday, then Friday and Saturday, chilling out and just enjoying each other's companies. And the conversations that we have are usually really great. So please join us. I'm here Monday through Saturday, 10 p.m. Eastern Time. For my panelists, I mean, they speak for themselves. I don't have to tell you all who are listening how amazing the panelists were. You heard it for yourself. For those of you in the chat, tapping, gifting, sharing, making comments, all of it is appreciated. Most importantly, I appreciate your time, because we can't get that back. And the fact that you choose to spend your time with me is something that I will always be grateful for. So, as always, peace, love, and granola. Talk to you soon.